The sound isn't human anymore. Jiwoo's screams tear through the cabin like shrapnel, sharp, relentless, impossible to escape. 2 hours and 53 minutes of it. Every passenger in first class has stopped pretending to work, to read, to sleep. They just sit there, faces twisted with rage they're barely containing. Before the story continues, remember this. In this world, only the prepared survive. Subscribe now and join the family. You don't want to miss what happens next. Andy Park's hands shake. He notices it first when he tries to adjust Jiwoo's position, the slight tremor in his fingers. The same hands that have never wavered. Not during his first collection. Not when his father put a gun in his palm at 17. Not ever. But now, holding this 6-month-old who won't stop screaming, they shake. His shirt is soaked through. The $3,000 suit jacket abandoned 3 rows back. His tie hangs loose, strangling him slowly. Jiwoo arches in his arms, face purple, little body rigid with whatever pain or terror has seized him. Sir. The flight attendant's voice cuts through. 4th time. Maybe 5th. We need to. Don't. Andy doesn't look at her. His voice could cut steel. Across the aisle, the German businessman slams his laptop shut. Unacceptable. $8,000 for the seat, and I have to listen to. Say one more word. Andy's eyes slide toward him. Empty. Flat. The look that makes grown men remember urgent appointments elsewhere. Hans goes silent. But his expression screams what his mouth won't. Jiwoo wails louder. A woman behind them groans audibly. Someone mutters about inconsiderate people and shouldn't travel with babies. Andy feels it rising. The thing his father weaponized. The violence that lives just beneath his ribs, coiled and patient. He could make them all shut up. He knows exactly how. But what good would that do? His nephew screams, and Andy Park, who has never been helpless, who has never failed, realizes he has absolutely no idea what to do. Excuse me. The voice is small. Steady. Andy looks up. A black girl stands in the aisle. Maybe 12. Gray hoodie 3 sizes too big. Worn sneakers. Her eyes are impossibly calm as they meet his. I can help, she says quietly. Behind her, the flight attendant reaches out. Miss, return to your. Get away from me. Andy's words could freeze fire. The girl doesn't move. And something in him fractures. Seoul, South Korea. 15 years earlier. The belt whistles through the air before it connects. Andy is 17. He doesn't cry anymore. Crying ended at 12, the night his father held his head underwater in the bathtub until he stopped struggling. A park never begs, his father said, watching him cough up water. A park never breaks. Now, in the basement of their Gangnam estate, Andy stands with his hands behind his back while his father circles him. The man they brought in bound, gagged, bleeding from the mouth, watches from the corner. He made the mistake of skimming from one of father's clubs. 300,000 won. Barely anything. But it's never about the money. Do you know why we're here? Father's voice is conversational. Almost kind. Yes, a BOG. Then show me. Andy's hands don't shake as he picks up the knife. They never do anymore. His sister taught him that trick. Pretend you're watching someone else do it. Pretend it's happening to a different boy in a different life. The man screams through the gag. Andy doesn't hear it. Later, much later, he finds his sister waiting in his room. Minji is 19, already planning her escape to America for medical school. She pulls him into a hug he doesn't return. I'm sorry, she whispers into his shoulder. Appa, I'm so sorry. Don't be. His voice sounds hollow even to himself. This is who I am. No. She pulls back, grips his face with both hands. Forces him to look at her. This is who he's making you. But you're still my brother. You're still human underneath. Andy wants to believe her. He stopped believing in anything 5 years ago. Present day. 3 hours before the flight. His phone vibrates at 11:47 p.m. Minji's number. Appa. Her voice cracks. The surgery. Something went wrong. Internal bleeding. They're taking me back in. I can't, a sob breaks through. I can't take Jiwoo to New York. The doctors won't clear me to fly for weeks. Maybe months. Andy's already moving, grabbing his keys. I'm coming to the hospital. No. Listen to me. You need to take him. The custody hearing is in 3 days. If I don't show up with him, if I miss this, another sob. Please. I know you don't. I know this isn't your world. But he's all I have. He's everything. In the background, Jiwoo cries. Andy closes his eyes. I'll take him, he says. Thank you. God, thank you. Relief floods her voice. There's a nanny I hired. She quit. Silence. Then it's just you, Minji whispers. Appa, can you do this? Andy looks at his hands. The same hands that held a knife at 17. The same hands that have done unspeakable things in his father's name. I don't know, he admits. It's the most honest thing he's said in years. 3 hours into the flight, the cabin has become a pressure cooker. Andy's shirt clings to his back. His tie is somewhere near row 4. He threw it there an hour ago when it started feeling like a noose. Jiwoo's screams have evolved from desperate to something beyond that. Something that sounds like the baby is being torn apart from the inside. Maybe he is. Andy has tried everything. The bottle refused. The pacifier spat out. Walking the aisle made it worse. Rocking, bouncing, humming badly remembered lullabies from childhood. Nothing works. Nothing even makes a dent. The German businessman, Hans Muller, according to the luggage tag Andy memorized 2 hours ago, stands up. His face is the color of raw meat. Enough. He strides across the aisle, looms over Andy's seat. I have tried to be patient. I have tried to be understanding. But this is unacceptable. That child needs medical attention or sedation or... Sit down. Andy doesn't look up. His voice is surgical blade thin. I will not sit down. I paid $8,000 for peace and quiet, and instead I'm trapped in hell because you can't control. Andy's head snaps up. The look in his eyes stops Hans mid-sentence. It's the look predators have right before they strike. Empty. Calculating. Completely devoid of mercy. The next words out of your mouth, Andy says quietly, will determine whether you walk off this plane or get carried off. Choose carefully. Hans's mouth opens. Closes. His Adam's apple bobs as he swallows. For a moment, Andy sees the calculation happening behind his eyes. Is this man serious? Is he bluffing? Then Hans sees whatever truth lives in Andy's face and backs away. This is outrageous, he mutters, but he's already retreating to his seat. Absolutely outrageous. I'll be filing a complaint with the airline. Andy doesn't respond. He's already forgotten Hans exists. Jiwoo screams louder, somehow. His little face is purple, soaked with tears and mucus. His tiny body arches backward, rigid with distress. Andy adjusts his grip, terrified he'll drop him, terrified he's holding him wrong, terrified of everything. Sir. The head flight attendant, Melissa, her name tag says, approaches with the careful movements of someone approaching a wounded animal. Sir, I need you to listen to me. No. Sir, we have regulations. If a child is in medical distress, he's not in distress. He's just crying. For 3 hours? Her voice is gentle but firm. That's not normal, Mr. Park. We have protocols for situations like this. We can contact medical professionals on the ground, potentially arrange an emergency. We're not landing the plane. Andy's jaw clenches so hard it aches. Mr. Park. I said no. Behind him, a woman's voice cuts through. Can someone please do something? My son is trying to sleep and this is becoming abusive. Another passenger chimes in. I have a migraine. This is a health hazard. Perhaps someone in coach could switch seats with you, Hans calls out, emboldened by distance. Someone more, equipped for this situation. Andy's free hand grips the armrest. The leather protests under his fingers. He feels it building again, the rage, the violence, the thing his father cultivated in him like a prized weapon. It would be so easy. He could make them all shut up. He knows exactly how much pressure it takes to break a jaw. Exactly where to hit to make someone stop talking permanently. Jiwoo's scream reaches a new pitch. And Andy Park, who has never broken, who has never failed, who has survived his father's training and worse, feels something crack inside his chest. His hands are shaking again. Not just trembling. Shaking. He can't do this. He can't. Whatever his sister thought he was capable of, she was wrong. He's not made for this. He's made for violence and intimidation and control. Not this helpless, endless nightmare where nothing he does matters. Please, he hears himself say. The word tastes foreign in his mouth. Please, just give me a minute. Melissa's expression softens. Of course. But Mr. Park, if this continues. I know. She nods and withdraws. The cabin settles into hostile silence, broken only by Jiwoo's relentless crying. Andy closes his eyes. I'm sorry, he thinks to his sister. I'm so sorry. I can't do this. Excuse me. The voice is small. Young. Female. Andy's eyes open. Standing in the aisle is a black girl in a gray hoodie. Her sneakers are held together with duct tape. Her cornrows are neat, but the hair tie is fraying. She looks about 12, maybe younger. She doesn't belong here. I can help, she says quietly. Andy stares at her. This child. This nobody. Standing here like she has any right to witness his failure. Get away from me, he says. Each word drips ice. The girl doesn't move. And somewhere deep inside, beneath the rage and the terror and the shame, Andy feels the last of his control beginning to slip away. Chloe has learned to make herself invisible. It's a survival skill, honed over 3 years in the system. For foster homes in 4 cities. Each one a different kind of temporary. You don't make noise. You don't take up space. You become background wallpaper. Something people forget is there until it's time to pack your things again. Seat 32B, economy class, row closest to the bathroom. Her backpack sits in her lap because overhead bins aren't safe. Someone might accidentally take it. Inside, 2 changes of clothes, a toothbrush, her grandmother's Bible with the pressed flowers still marking psalms, and the photograph. The only photograph. Grandma Rose holding 5-year-old Chloe, both of them laughing at something lost to time. The social worker, Ms. Chin, handed her the boarding pass 3 hours ago at the airport. Your new placement is in New York. The Johnsons are nice people. Give them a chance, okay? Chloe nodded. She always nods. She doesn't mention that she gave the Hendersons a chance. And the Pratts. And the Williams family who seemed so nice until their biological son came home from college and suddenly there wasn't room for a foster kid anymore. The plane is only 20 minutes into the flight when she hears it. A baby crying. Not unusual. Babies cry on planes. But this is different. Chloe has worked enough childcare at the church, has soothed enough crying infants while their mothers tried to catch their breath, to know the difference between discomfort and distress. This baby isn't just crying. This baby is screaming like no one has ever taught him that comfort exists. She shifts in her seat, trying to focus on the book Miss Chin gave her, some young adult novel about a girl finding her place in the world. The words blur. The screaming continues, filtering through the curtain that separates economy from first class. That invisible line between people who matter and people who don't. 1 hour passes. Then 2. The crying doesn't stop. Around her, passengers groan, plug their ears, make comments about people who shouldn't travel with babies. Chloe closes her eyes and hears her grandmother's voice, clear as if she's sitting right here. Baby, some people never learned they were allowed to be soothed. They cry and cry because nobody ever showed them what comfort feels like. Those are the ones who need it most. Grandma Rose used to say that about Chloe in the early days after her mother left. After the drugs won and the state stepped in, Chloe cried for 3 months straight, screamed until her voice gave out. But Grandma Rose knew. She knew what that crying meant. 3 hours in, Chloe unbuckles her seatbelt. The flight attendant near the galley looks up. "Miss, can I help you?" "Bathroom," Chloe says quietly. But she doesn't go to the bathroom. She slips past the curtain into first class, drawn by something she can't quite name. The crying is louder here. Desperate. The man holding the baby, Asian, expensive suit, face like carved stone, looks like he's about to shatter. Chloe recognizes that look too. She's seen it in the mirror. "I can help," she says. The curtain between economy and first class is just fabric, but it might as well be a brick wall. Chloe has never crossed it before. Never had a reason to. People like her don't belong in spaces like that, spaces with real glasses instead of plastic cups, with seats that recline into beds, with flight attendants who smile like they mean it. But the baby is still screaming. And Chloe knows that sound. Knows it in her bones. She stands, checks that her backpack is secure on her shoulder, never leave your things unattended, and moves toward the front of the plane. The flight attendant stationed near the galley is distracted, speaking into her phone with a concerned expression. Something about medical consultation and 3 hours now. Chloe slips past. The difference is immediate. The carpet in first class is thick, cream-colored, unstained. Her Converse, held together with duct tape and prayers, leave no mark but feel wrong against the plush surface. The seats are leather, wide enough for two of her. The lighting is softer. The air even smells different. Expensive. Everyone is staring at the man in 2A. He's Asian, maybe early 30s, wearing a suit that probably costs more than a year of Chloe's grandmother's rent used to be. His hair is perfectly styled except where his hands have run through it. His jaw is clenched so tight it looks painful. The baby in his arms, 6 months old, maybe, is purple-faced and screaming like his lungs are being torn out. The man's eyes find her immediately. Chloe has seen dangerous men before. The system is full of them, foster fathers who smile in front of social workers and show different faces after. Boyfriends who visit in the night. Men who make you learn to read violence in the set of shoulders, the clench of fists. This man is dangerous. She sees it in the way everyone gives him space. In the tension coiled through his frame. In eyes that assess her in half a second, age, size, threat level, and dismiss her as irrelevant. "Go back to your seat." His voice could cut glass. Not loud. Doesn't need to be. The kind of voice that's used to being obeyed. Chloe doesn't move. She looks at the baby instead. At the way the man holds him, technically correct, nothing obviously wrong, but somehow completely wrong. Like he's holding a bomb instead of a child. No ease. No comfort. Just rigid control trying to contain chaos. "I can help," she says again, quieter this time. "Miss." The flight attendant appears behind her, touches her shoulder. "You can't be here. You need to return to your seat immediately." "I can make him stop crying," Chloe says, not taking her eyes off the man. The German businessman too rose back, laughs, sharp, ugly. "Oh, wonderful. Now we have children playing doctor." The man in 2A, the dangerous one, stares at her. Really stares. Chloe feels the weight of that gaze, the calculation behind it. She's been looked at like this before, by social workers deciding if she's worth the paperwork, by foster families deciding if she's worth keeping. She's used to being found wanting. "You're what, 12, he says. "You think you know something I don't?" "I'm 12, Chloe confirms. And yes. Something flickers across his face. Might be surprise. Might be rage. The baby screams louder. And Chloe takes one step closer. The man's eyes narrow. Chloe can feel every passenger watching them. The rich businessman who complained earlier, the flight attendant hovering nervously, the woman across the aisle clutching her champagne glass like a lifeline. "Miss, please," the flight attendant starts. "What could a kid like you possibly know?" The man's voice is low, dangerous. Each word precisely chosen to cut. "You think because you snuck up here from economy, you can what? Fix this." Chloe doesn't flinch. She's heard worse. Been called worse. By people who were supposed to protect her. "I know he's hurting," she says simply. "And I know you don't know how to help him. Not because you're bad. Because nobody ever showed you how. Something flashes across the man's face. Raw. Exposed. He catches it immediately, slams it back behind the mask, but Chloe saw it. She's met men like him before. In the system, they're everywhere: foster fathers, social workers, shelter staff. Dangerous men who learned early that showing weakness gets you destroyed. Men who turned their fear into armor and their armor into weapons. Men who'd rather break than bend because bending means breaking anyway, just slower. The baby screams, face soaked with tears and mucus. His little body arches backward, rigid with distress that has nowhere to go. You're holding him wrong, Chloe says quietly. The man's jaw tightens. I'm holding him exactly how? You're holding him like you're afraid of him. Like he's something that might hurt you. She takes another step closer. Close enough now to see the exhaustion carved into the man's face, the tremor in his hands he's trying to hide. He can feel that. Babies know. You need to return to your seat, the flight attendant says, but her voice has lost its authority. She's watching this play out like everyone else. The man stares at Chloe. Really stares. She can see him calculating threat level, credibility, how much it would cost his pride to listen to a 12-year-old in duct-taped shoes. I've worked in church nurseries since I was 8, Chloe says. My grandmother raised 7 kids and 12 foster children. Before she died, she taught me everything. Her voice drops even quieter. Please. I know what he needs. The baby's scream reaches a new pitch. The man's hands shake harder. Chloe sees the exact moment his pride breaks. Fine. The word comes out like he's confessing to murder. Fine. But if you... I won't hurt him, Chloe says. She already knows what he was going to threaten. She's heard those threats before too. She holds out her arms. For a long moment, the man doesn't move. The entire cabin holds its breath. 37 passengers waiting to see if the dangerous man in the expensive suit will hand his nephew to a child from economy class. His hands move before his expression changes. Like his body knows what his mind won't admit, that he's out of options. That pride is a luxury he can't afford right now. Jiwoo transfers to her arms. He's heavier than she expected, solid with baby weight. Still screaming, but already, she can feel him responding to the difference. To arms that hold him like he matters. Like he's allowed to need comfort. Okay, baby, Chloe whispers. Okay, I've got you. And she begins to hum. Chloe adjusts Jiwoo against her shoulder, positions him at a 45-degree angle with his chest against hers. Not the way most people hold babies, upright, facing out, like trophies. This is different. Older. The way her grandmother held her when the nightmares came, when the social workers left, when the world felt too big and too cruel. She places one hand on his back, not patting, not rubbing, just steady pressure right between his shoulder blades where tension lives even in babies. Her other hand supports his bottom, takes his weight completely so he doesn't have to work, doesn't have to hold himself together. Then she begins to hum. It's not a melody most people would recognize. Not from a movie or a radio hit. It's older than that. Older than her grandmother. Older than her grandmother's grandmother. A song that came across the ocean in slave ships, that survived plantations and Jim Crow and every attempt to erase the people who sang it. The melody is low, rhythmic, designed to match a heartbeat. Grandma Rose called it the remembering song. Something in your bones recognizes it, even if your mind doesn't know why. Chloe hums and sways, barely moving. Just a gentle rock, side to side. The same motion her grandmother used. The same motion that woman's mother used. The same motion passed down through generations of women who had to soothe babies in the dark, in the quiet, in the spaces where crying could get you killed. Jiwoo's screams falter. The change is immediate. His rigid body starts to soften against her, just slightly. His fists unclench. The purple color starts to fade from his face. Chloe keeps humming, keeps the pressure steady on his back. She can feel it the moment his nervous system starts to believe it's safe. The moment he stops fighting. His screams become cries. The cries become whimpers. Then silence. Complete, profound, almost holy silence. The cabin seems to stop breathing. 37 passengers frozen in disbelief. Even the engine noise seems quieter, as if the plane itself is afraid to break the spell. Jiwoo hiccups once. Twice. His tiny hand curls into Chloe's hoodie. His breathing evens out. Still awake, but quiet. Not silent because he's given up, silent because he finally feels safe enough to stop screaming. Chloe looks up. The man in the expensive suit, Andy, she heard someone call him, stares at her like she just split the Red Sea. His mouth is slightly open. His hands hang at his sides, useless, forgotten. She can see his chest moving too fast, like he's the one who just ran out of air. Behind him, the German businessman's champagne glass hangs halfway to his mouth. The flight attendant's hand covers her own mouth. Someone in row 4 whispers, "How did she?" Chloe doesn't answer. She just keeps swaying, keeps humming softly, keeps her hand steady on Jiwoo's back. The baby sighs against her shoulder. A small, exhausted sound. And stays quiet. Andy blinks. Once. Twice. When he speaks, his voice comes out broken. Raw. How did you do that? Chloe meets his eyes. She sees the wetness there, the tear he's trying not to let fall. Someone taught me I was allowed to be held, she says quietly. So I know how to hold someone else. How? The word came out before Andy could stop it. Raw. Genuine. Chloe kept swaying with Jiwoo, whose cries had softened to shuddering breaths. She didn't look at Andy when she answered, her gaze fixed somewhere beyond the oval windows. My grandmother raised me, she said quietly. Until I was 12. Until she died. Andy's hands stilled on his armrests. After that, it was group homes mostly. Different houses, different kids cycling through. Her thumb traced gentle circles on Jiwoo's back. You learn things in those places. How to make yourself small when you need to. How to breathe through the panic at 3 in the morning when everything feels too big and too dark. She adjusted her hold on the baby, tucking him closer. There's this lullaby my grandmother taught me. She said it was sung to enslaved children back when their parents couldn't hold them. When they needed someone, anyone, to tell them they weren't alone in the dark. Chloe's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Sometimes songs carry what we can't. Andy turned toward the window, but the motion came too late. Something hot traced down his cheek, betraying him. He swiped at it quickly, jaw clenched, horrified at this public unraveling. At the crack splitting through his carefully maintained composure. Across the aisle, the businessman suddenly discovered something fascinating on his phone screen. I'm sorry, Andy managed, his voice thick. Don't be. Chloe finally met his eyes, and there was no pity there. No judgment. Only recognition, the kind that comes from knowing what it costs to keep everything locked down. Sometimes it just breaks open, you know? All that armor we carry around. Jiwoo's breathing had evened out against her shoulder, his tiny fist clutching her hoodie like an anchor. The plane hummed forward through the sky, carrying these strangers bound by nothing but proximity and this fragile, unexpected moment of truth. Andy nodded once, unable to trust his voice. Afraid that if he spoke, the crack would widen into something he couldn't control. Andy cleared his throat, reaching for his wallet. The leather felt familiar in his hands, solid, practical, the universal solvent for problems. Let me pay you, he said, pulling out bills. Not a few. A lot. More than most people made in a week. For helping. Please. Chloe looked at the money, then at him. Her expression didn't shift, didn't soften. No. It's not. I'm not trying to insult you. I just want to thank you properly. I can afford. I know what you can afford. She adjusted Jiwoo against her shoulder, the baby's breathing deep and even now. You want to make this a transaction. Something clean, something that fits in your world. She shook her head slowly. That's not how this works. Andy's hand hung in the air between them, the bills suddenly feeling obscene. Why do you hold him like that? Chloe asked, her voice quieter now. Like what? Like a weapon. Like something you're trying to keep at arm's length instead of close. Her eyes found his, steady and unflinching. Why are you so afraid of him? The question hit like a punch to the solar plexus. Andy looked down at his hands, at the money that had always been his answer to everything. I don't know how to do this. The words escaped before he could stop them, pulled from some locked chamber he'd sealed years ago. I'm going to break him. I'm going to fail him the way his voice fractured. The way I was broken. The admission hung in the recycled air between them. Jiwoo slept on, oblivious, safe in Chloe's arms. Then learn something different, Chloe said finally. Andy looked up, something fundamental shifting behind his ribs. You're not your father. You're not whoever hurt you. She held his gaze without wavering. You get to choose what you become. That's the whole point of all this, you get to choose. Andy stared at her, at this stranger who'd somehow cracked him open in ways years of expensive therapy never had. The money in his hand suddenly felt like the wrong currency entirely, the wrong answer to every question he'd been asking his whole life. He put the bills away slowly, his hands unsteady. The seatbelt sign chimed on as the plane began its descent into Seoul. Jiwoo stirred in Chloe's arms, his face scrunching in that way Andy had learned meant tears were seconds away. Here, Chloe said, shifting toward him. Before we land. Let me show you. She guided his hands with surprising authority, positioning them with the certainty of someone who'd done this before. One under the baby's head, cradling the soft vulnerability of his neck. The other supporting his back, palms spread wide. Not so stiff. He's not made of glass, but he's not a briefcase either. Her fingers, small, certain, adjusted Andy's grip, pressing his palm flatter against Jiwoo's spine. Feel that? His breathing? Match yours to it. Andy tried. Failed. His breathing came too fast, too shallow. He tried again, forcing himself to slow down, to feel the tiny rise and fall against his hand. Jiwoo's chest moved with such delicate precision, and gradually, impossibly, Andy's own breathing shifted to follow. There, Chloe said softly. See? You can do this. The wheels touched down with a gentle thud. Around them, passengers reached for overhead bins, phones already out, momentum carrying them forward into whatever came next. But Andy sat still, feeling the weight of this small life in his hands. Actually feeling it, maybe for the first time since Seoul. Your foster placement, he heard himself say. Is it good? Chloe's expression shuddered immediately, walls going up. It's temporary. That's not what I asked. Is it safe? A pause stretched between them, filled with everything she wasn't saying. It's temporary, she repeated, and that was answer enough. Andy looked down at Jiwoo, then back at her. The pieces clicked together in his mind, not a business plan, not a transaction, but something more fundamental. Something that might actually matter. I need to make a call, he said. Not to my father. To my sister. Chloe tilted her head, waiting, guarded. We need help with Jiwoo. Real help, from someone who actually knows what they're doing. He met her eyes directly. And maybe you need a place that's not temporary. That's actually safe. You don't owe me anything, Chloe said carefully, but there was something flickering in her voice now. Something like hope held at arm's length, afraid to come closer. I know. Andy stood slowly, Jiwoo secure against his chest for the first time. But maybe that's exactly the point.